I don't think I've ever had this much paper before in my whole entire possession. Certainly not in the form of blocks of paper like this. I've just received this huge delivery of paper from Meeden. This is to launch their new range of 100% cotton, acid-free watercolour paper, which has got itself so deeply embedded into my mind that I even found myself dreaming about it last night. So what we have here now, starting from today, that's to say the 18th of September 2023, on their website there will be a range of 9 different options of this watercolour paper, which has turned out to be a wonderful find. Here's one of my pads that I'm working with at the moment. This is the texture of the cold press. I'm using a lot of this at the moment, and it's really nice to paint on, and it's a very reasonable price. It's $15.95 for 20 sheets of this size, which is 7 by 10. And as of now, we've got the same size is going to be available not only in cold press, which is the traditional usual colour texture for the paper, watercolour paper, that's kind of traditional middle of the road, but also we have rough and we have hot press. So that's absolutely fantastic. Hot press is particularly suitable for botanical paintings. If you're doing anything fine, anything detailed, a hot press, because it's much smoother than rough. Rough, on the other hand, is ideal if you're doing landscapes or if you're doing something much more impressionistic where you want the texture of the paper to really show through. So I'm going to be demonstrating all 3 of these in a minute. We've also now got this size, 12 by 9, again in the same 3, hot press, rough and cold press. And this is going to be exciting to be able to use a piece of paper which is a little bit bigger. The 10 by 7, this one, is ideal for using folded in half as a Christmas card. So that one is going to be perfect. As you can see, imagine a line drawn down there, and this is a perfect size. That's 5 by 7 for a Christmas card. That's traditional size. This one is much more suitable for a proper in the sense of the word, landscape or a floral or something like that, where you want to be a bit more, expressive in your work, a bit more space, in other words. And here we have the little one, the new baby one, which is kind of large postcard size, 5 by 7. When you get your pad or your block of watercolour paper and you open it up, take off the plastic, you will find that there is a piece of green paper on the top, and you will remove that using a paper knife or something like that, or a credit card or whatever. Whoops. And you will try not to put paint on your first sheet. I have obviously got a messy nature. Oh dear, dear, dear. Never mind, it doesn't matter. Let's clean that. What I could do now is try to get rid of that. Of course, it would be phthalo blue, wouldn't it? Which is a nice dark blue colour. That's not going to come off. Phthalo blue, teaching opportunity. Phthalo blue is a staining colour, and no matter what you do, you won't get rid of that. So when we come to paint on this piece, we're going to have to do something nice and dark to cover it up. On the other hand, what I might do is take that sheet off and use that as a, let's hope I've got the paint off of the knife, use this as a test sheet. Yes, there we are. So this is the cold press. I don't know if you can see the texture there, and that's cold press. And then we've got this one here, which is, oh look, it's pink. This is the rough. So we'll just take off our cover sheet. A little bit thicker, right? Okay, so that's, now, I think you can probably see, if I hold those two together, you can probably see that there is a difference in the texture, and I'm going to paint on it in a minute and show you how that texture affects the painting. And now the pink one, you take the cover sheet off of that as well, if you can find it. They've changed the colour of the glue. Before, this glue here was blue, and it was a bit annoying because you could see it on the edges of the paper unless you peeled it all off. Okay, so now this is the hot press, which is smoother, and you can definitely see the difference there. They're all the same colour, but this one, being as it's a little bit more textured, it seems a little bit darker. So now we've got hot press, rough, and cold press. Okay, so I'm going to tape these together now before I do the painting, and I have also here, Meeden is so generous, I have got a pack of Meeden masking tape, which I'm going to use for the very first time here. There's 5 rolls in this pack, and there are different widths. There's a very narrow one here, then slightly wider, and then going all the way up to this one here, which is nearly 1.5 inches. So we've got 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 3/4, 1/2 inch, and 1/4 inch there. So I'm going to separate those out, and let's see whether I can do that without making a mess. Okay, so that's the very narrow one. Maybe I'll use that for around the outside edges. Let's see if that's going to work. It's very narrow, actually. Let's see if that's long enough, wide enough. Let's see. That's probably okay. And then I want the wider one, probably this one here. That will do nicely down the middle. So I'm just going to cut it because I can't find the end. The unorthodox. There we go. Put that there. And that there. And then let's go for the narrow one around the outside edges. 1, 2, 3. Now, before anybody says this is not a very slick presentation, I would like to point out that slick is not me. Not into slickness, although I like to think that I'm moderately professional about what I say. So you can guarantee that I will be fair in my judgment. Okay, so let's find my paints. So I'm going to use Meeden paints for this, obviously. This is the set, which I have in my very big palette. But really, it doesn't matter terribly much what you use. I thought I would use Meeden since, after all, we are talking about Meeden paper. So I'll just bring my water a little bit closer. And right, so what are we going to do? We're going to try out the texture of this paper So what we're going to use to do that, to demonstrate, is a nice flat brush. This is a 1-inch flat. This is from my upcoming set of brushes, which can be available from Craftamo. That's not quite straight. I'll just reposition that a little bit. But the brush that you use really doesn't matter. Let's wet the brush a little bit and we'll see how this goes. This is the cold press, this is hot press, this is rough. And I've labelled it above there by using the label from the thing. So let's think about landscapes. And I'll pick up some cobalt blue this is. And we should probably try and get that a little bit closer. It doesn't really matter. I'm sure you know what paint looks like when it's mixed up. Okay, so here we go. Cold press. Hot press. Rough. Let's do that again with a bit more pigment. Cold press, hot press, rough. Okay, so you can see this is a normal, what we expect, effect on the cold press paper. This is the hot press, and you can see that it has no texture really. And you're going to get a lot more of this pooling of the paint and it dries quicker, as you can see. This is still wet. And as you do this, you can see a nice even wash. It just feels different. It's smoother. And you're going to get lots more pooling. This is much more prone to the dry brush effect, and you're going to get much more texture even on this one, although this isn't what I would call very rough. It's just somewhat rough. So let's do another few strokes in green. Let's pretend we're doing a landscape. And we'll see how this turns out differently in the end. I hope you can see that difference. And let's go for a slightly darker green still. Another stroke. Can see how this one resists the paint a lot more, the rough. Goes on easiest on this one, and this one it's much more I don't know, more resistant. I can't think of another word for it. It's a little bit more resistant. I'm just picking up plenty of paint and coming across. You can see more blending going on here probably. And look, see? So if you want a rough, what would you call it? Dry brush effect, the rough paper is much better for that. So you can see that this one would definitely be better at picking up the details. Like I said, if you're doing detailed botanical paintings. But cold press is what you would call the compromise paper. Rough is a bit more dramatic. Hot press is more for detail. So I'm going to dry that. And then perhaps we'll try and put something on top of it. So I'm going to, now this is dry, I'm going to show you, this is an experiment for me as well, because I haven't used these other two papers before either. So I'm just going to mix up some green, quite nice and strong, nice darkish green. Doesn't matter what colour do you fancy? Anything really will do. And then I'm going to put some leaves, just some leaves, and we're going to see how they come out on here. So there we are, that's a leaf on the cold press paper. And on the hot press. And on the rough. I used to do most of my painting on rough, actually, at one time. And then I switched to ordinary cold press paper. It's really just a feeling as much as anything. I don't know if you can see any difference. One of the things that is somewhat different is when it comes to using pen over top of the paper or the paint, because you will find that the pen has a different reaction. And that's interesting because these leaf shapes are more detailed, they come out more accurately, more precisely. Than on the cold. I'm just trying to do some different sorts of strokes. And then something that I like to do is to scratch out, if I can find my scratchy thing. Where's it gone? There it is, my scratchy Chinese pen thing. You can scratch into the paint to give yourself some veins. Now this is working really nicely on the rough paper. That was working really well. Even though I did this a little while ago, we're still getting the right effect, because here, because it's nearly dry, you're getting a dark line, and there, because it's wetter, you're getting a light line. On the smooth hot press, it doesn't work anywhere near as well. So you can see why sometimes when you try these techniques, they don't work for you, because maybe you're using a different kind of paper. And again, on the cold press, it's not working as well as it did on the rough. This has absorbed the paint more quickly, I would say. This is still very wet. Very wet, actually. It's interesting. Okay, well, I'm quite liking the rough at the moment for the sort of, what would you say, the kind of responsiveness, that's the word. Okay, so let's try some circles, some berries. I think it's true to say that it's easier to be accurate on the hot press. Okay, so I've used quite a lot of paint there, so let's use some of it up here. You can see a little bit more the tendency for the paint to sort of give a texture. Not a texture, it doesn't smooth out as much as it does on the paper that is more textured. So the smoother the paper, the more the disruption there that you're going to get. Okay, so let's try a flower. Oops. Yeah. That's my dog. And maybe we can put in a stem. I don't know, what are you thinking? I'd be very interested to hear people's thoughts about this, what it makes you think and feel as far as the paper is concerned. I think it would be very much fun to try out. So if you go to the Meeden website, meedenart.com, I think it is, you'll find this paper available. And we've still got the giveaway thing going on at the moment. So if you buy something, you're in with a chance to win. To win a prize at the end of September. Okay, I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to try a little bit of pen work on top of it just to see how that goes. Okay, so that's dry. Now I've got here an assortment of pens, and I'm going to try them out on here and see what happens. And first of all, I need to just test and make sure that that's going to work. Not so good. Oh, I know, I think I've got a new one here. Here we go. This will be good. Right, so this is a, what is this? This is a hybrid gel DX from Pentel. Right, so let's try this. This is on our normal cold press. And that works fine. Nothing wrong with that. This is on the hot press paper. Also no problem. Looks good. And this one here, you're going to get a slightly more irregular line, because that's what you'd expect. So you've got a very smooth line here, an irregular line there, and somewhere in the middle there. So let's try it on these circles here. has to be said that if you want smooth writing, you're going to be wanting to go for the hot press paper. If you like things to look a bit funky chunky, then rough is the way to go. And I think that's probably my assessment of that. So that's actually a really nice pen. That's a Pentel. Then we've got the Uniball Signo in gold. So let's try that one out. I do like that gold. There's more variation in the colour underneath on this one being smooth, and it's kind of pulled away. So no disappointment there. They all work perfectly fine, both of those. Black Stettler, this is a 0.3. This is quite a fine point. So let's try it out up here on these ones. This is probably too fine for this paper. And it's not, I expect it's not going to be terribly good then on the rough. We'll see. You can just about see that, but on this one, I can see that that might be nice for some designs because it doesn't get disrupted by the paper. Yeah, you can't really see it all that well on here. We're probably going to be looking for a thicker nib. So this does come in a thicker version. And here I've got this is my Winsor & Newton, similar kind of thing. And so here, that shows up much better. And on here, you can actually move quicker on the smooth paper. The pen glides better. That makes me think of what Ellen Crimmy Trent said. She did a demo on some smooth hot press paper this week, and she said it's like skating on ice. And it is in a way, yeah, although that could be a bit off-putting to think that you aren't in control. But you're not out of control. It's just easier. It's more flowing, so to speak. Okay, so that works fine too. This is a Pentel white. Okay, there's a thing. We won't do that. We won't shake it with its cap off. How about that? We won't shake it with its cap off. That's a broader line, that one is, isn't it? That's quite thick. Again, works very nicely on the smooth paper. I like this one for doing dots. I think that one's very good for doing dots. My favourite pen for black is the Tombow Fudenasuke pen. This is a brush pen that does thick and thin lines, which is fun. And I do like to use that. So you can come in and you can press down hard and get a thick line like that. And you can do it lightly and get a thin line. So you can do all sorts of things with this. And I think this will work really well on here. Yeah. Much better on the smoother paper. So I'm going to be recommending you to acquire yourself some hot press paper, and we can do some interesting pen and ink work on the hot press paper. It's the same price as far as I'm aware as the cold press, and it makes a change. It's more like working on sketch paper, to be honest, because it's smoother. But I'll always be a fan of cold press because it was what as I said, I thought it was cool when I was young to use rough paper, because nobody did. So a little bit kind of different. So just, I think, getting close to the end now. And let's put a little bit more gold on here, shall we, just to cheer this one up. And same here. I've always been a great fan of paper. Any kind of paper makes me happy. You know, if I go shopping, I'm not interested in shoes, but show me a notebook and I'm captivated. So we'll put gold lines around all three of these daisies. It's interesting, you can see that the white dots have picked up the pink from the paint underneath, so they're not white anymore. And that's the best thing that I can think of for the bleed-proof white. If you're going to do dots and you want them to stay white, you're either going to have to come in again and go over the top, which is a little bit finicky, or else use the Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed-proof white, because that's obviously got the characteristic of not bleeding through. Or you just have to learn to live with pink, if you see what I mean. And we can carry on doing all sorts of things here and spend a whole day embellishing and having fun. Anything rather than doing the ironing, eh? And this one needs something. I didn't do the black on here. You can fill in with this gold pen. You can actually go over. And on the smooth paper, it's easy to fill in. Not so easy on this one. Takes more work. So, there we are. So, you can now have cold press, hot press, or rough paper from Meeden. 3 different sizes, 5x7, 7x10, and 12x9. And if you go to their website, meedenart.com, you will find it there from Monday, the 18th. If you use the code Diane10, you get an extra 10% off. And if you order anything this month during September, you are entered automatically in for a prize. They're offering, I think, a complete set and a bunch of paper and some vouchers. I can't remember exactly what the prizes are, but that's all. Meeden are doing all of that, and they will get in touch with you when the draw has been done. It's going to be a random draw. So if you order more than one thing on different orders, then you stand more than one chance of being entered, I think. I'm not quite sure, but I would imagine so. Yeah, so that's nice of them. They've been very generous and have offered us that, because so many of you have enjoyed their paints and decided to invest in things from them. So I'm just getting carried away here with the pen as usual. And Yeah, so what do you think? So we'll just take off the tape around the outside edges of these little sample pieces, just to see what they look like. This was just a demo of the qualities of the paper, nothing at all artistic about this. And but you can tell once the paper is revealed and the tape is off, you can see what you have done. Cold press, hot press, rough and hot press. Those are the two that are really different from what we're used to. So I'll let you go, have fun, and I'll see you over on the Meeden website. Bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.